and welcome to Bell's Palsy Knowledge Base. Today we start the video post series, and the idea is to share with you the knowledge about facial nerve, facial palsy, about how facial muscles work, and what in particular can we do and should we do to reduce the residuals after Bell's palsy, and also to reverse as far as possible, as much as possible, its complications. The first post of this video series is about the facial nerve. Facial nerve, we can compare it easily to a thick telephone cable that connects the telephone station, which is our brain, with the neighborhood, which is our face. After leaving the telephone station, the cable divides. So the nerve provides signals to a various parts of the face through its branches. Then it divides again and provides signals to a single facial muscles. Then it divides even more and provides facial signals to a single muscle strands or muscle fibers. This way we can produce the whole variety of facial expressions, which is very rich, because our facial expressions, our facial nerve, has been perfected as a communication tool by millions of years of the evolution. It's interesting to know that our facial nerve is very thin. It's less than 1 millimeter thick. You can compare it with the thickness of wire of this paperclip. It's very thin, but still it contains 10,000 nerve fibers, which otherwise are called axons. There are three sorts of neurons in the facial nerve: sensory neurons, parasympathetic fibers, and motor neurons. Sensory neurons provide electric signals to the taste sensors of our tongue. That's why when Bell's palsy happens, a lot of patients lose the taste sensation on one part of the tongue or have a weird taste sensation. Very often it precedes actual palsy. Parasympathetic fibers provide electric signals to our lacrimal gland, the gland that produces tears. That's also why when facial palsy happens, Bell's palsy that we are talking now about, the eye becomes dry, because the lacrimal gland does not receive any signals for tear production, so it doesn't produce any. And the last, but not least, very important, are motor neurons. Motor neurons are effectively the neurons that provide electric signals from the brain to the face, the facial muscles, so we can move our face. Without these signals, no movements. So, as I told before, the motor neurons are combined in bundles, which are then divided into smaller bundles, yet smaller, until individual fibers reach muscle fibers, and they contract separately. But in perfect harmony, the signals reach our muscles, and we can produce our facial expressions, which are, of course, our very sophisticated communication tool. Let's talk about motor neuron construction. It contains three very important parts: cell body, which is called soma; dendrites or dendrites, which look like tree branches and help one neuron communicate with other neurons; and the last one is what's called axon, a very long so-called wire, which provides connection between the body of the neuron, which is located in the brain, here in the nucleus, and at the end with the muscle fibers. Axons actually are the highways which provide the way for the electric signals to pass from the brain to the facial muscles. Of course, these are also divided in various groups, so we can provide and produce various facial expressions. When the axon comes to the muscle, it ends with so-called neuromuscular junction. It's a very narrow gap between the nerve and muscle tissue, and through this gap the electric signal passes from the nerve to the muscle and excites the muscle fiber, and when the muscle fiber is excited, it produces contraction. That is how it works. As any electrical wire, each individual nerve fiber, which is axon, is electrically insulated by a special sheath which is made of protein called myelin. It is also mechanically protected by a some tube-like fibrous tissue, which is called endoneurium. This provides the mechanical protection for the axon. When Bell's palsy happens, the myelin, which is electrical insulation, gets damaged from the mechanical compression by the swollen tissue. When electrical insulation is damaged, the nerve fiber loses its capacity to conduct the electric signals. So the signals cannot pass anymore from the brain to the muscles. This is called a conduction block. A conduction block can also be a result of effect of the toxins. For example, botulinum toxin permanently blocks neuromuscular junction. This damage is irreversible, and to recover its function, the affected axon needs to regrow side terminals so they can reconnect with its muscle fibers and regain connection between the brain and the muscle. This explains why the effect of botulinum toxin injections is only temporary. Depending on the regenerative capacity of the body, between 2 to 5 months, the side terminals of axon grow back to their muscles, connection happens, and the function of the muscle returns back to normal. It is worth mentioning here that during the whole period of Botox, after Botox injection, when there is no connection, no movements of the facial muscles, the signals from the brain, they are produced and they are going all the way through the facial nerve up to the blocked neuromuscular junction. Sometimes this intensity of these signals is even higher because the brain does not receive the feedback from the muscles. So sometimes when Botox effect subsides, the muscle contractions become even higher than before the injections. Speaking about recovery of the Bell's palsy, we must thoroughly understand the construction of facial nerve, its function, and the mechanism of conduction block. Only then we can analyze the situation properly and choose the corresponding rehabilitation methods that are able to provide the expected and desired results.